All right, all right. Good evening, everybody, on this NBA game day, start day, however you want to call it. Truly a pleasure to be with y'all tonight. We got us a wonderful show ahead. Welcome to the Good Night Show. If you could take a moment just to comment first, because I haven't done this in a while, so I don't know what it's like. A few changes have been made to the platform as well. But I need you to comment. Let me know that you are actually here. Then two, need you to share. And I made some notes. Let me just make sure I go over the notes that I don't want to forget. So I need you to comment, share, and hold on. Oh, like my YouTube channel. Yeah, we on that. We're on that YouTube monetization. So I need you to do that. We are still waiting on a few guests. We don't know they show up. They show up. That's cool. If they don't, we got my boy Remy here. So I'm about to bring him on. Today is very simple. There has been a lot of talk about the Adventist church, especially on social media. And I'm actually going to show some of the stats. I hope they don't get mad, but I'm going to show some of the stats that people have made over the past few days, which has been very intriguing, honestly, to me. And I wanted to discuss it in more detail. So we decided that we're going to do a podcast. We're going to talk about it. And of course, this is one of many podcasts. Okay, we see you, Jason. We see that you are here. Make sure that you share. Send it to all your groups as well, sir. We got one down. Who else here? Let us know. But the more you share, the more you comment. That's a blessing. Anyways, and then I'm sporting my 1896. No, I was not in a fraternity. This is the year that my college was started. It was an HBCU. So, that's why I'm supporting that. A lot of people are like, oh, you was in fraternity. Like, nah, I wasn't. This just the year the school started. All right. But anyways, that's neither here or there. What we have to expect tonight is like basically we're going to talk about some myths, some truths of the Adventist church. Now we have people that said they was coming, so we're waiting on them. We're gonna see if they come or not. The people who have talked about the Adventist church and people that have left the church, all that type of stuff. So we're gonna bring them on if they get here. So it is what it is. LJ is here, so we all set. I'm bringing Remy on. My guy Remy, your internet is a little blurry, brother. Have mercy.
Internet. It is trash.
Cheers.
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
I can hear you. I can hear you. So we got my guy Remy here. Waiting on my boy Jamar, and then also waiting on Cara. Cara stated she would be here with us today. So we're waiting on them. I don't know what time they got the memo, but yeah, it is what it is. You feel me? Remy, tell me, we have there has been a lot of discussion. There has been a lot of discussion. Why is his hat going through the wall?
Dude, it's a fake background.
Oh, that is a fake background. I told you to change
Y'all
that,
was
man.
slow.
See?
Y'all was slow. How y'all don't know that? Oh my gosh.
I told you to change the background. How you doing, Sister Cantrell is here. Thank you. Emery's here. Oh, Emery, we thought about bringing you on, Emery, to discuss. Man, if our other people don't show up, we'll bring you on. But go ahead, Remy. So again, like I was saying, there has been this consistent discussion lately about the Adventist church, right? And so if anybody know me and how I feel, everybody know how I feel about it. I'm very defensive. I'm very clear on how I feel about this situation. But Remy, you grew up Adventist, and if I'm not mistaken, you grew up like a strict Adventist. Timmy, bless you, Timmy. We are here.
Timmy
I
was
miss you.
good.
So, Remy, you grew up in a strict Adventist crib. So tell us, what was that like? Tell us did you ever question like, yo, is this too much? You kick us off, Remy, and let's go from there.
Oh no, I was a good Adventist young lad. I mean, I did my fair share of
I'm gonna ask.
things. I don't know. I don't know what the words is. I could say boy, that word, but what? No movies, no drinking, no smoking, no partying. Can't play sports on a Friday night. You don't do those things because God doesn't ask you to do a lot of those things. Okay, so I mean, it's your own personal growth. When you're older, when you discover, is this really in line with biblical principles? Is it not? You have to ask those questions. If you say, "Oh, I go to church on Sabbath, which is Saturday," and then someone is like, "Why?" You should be able to provide an explanation as to why this is your common practice, why you believe in this, because otherwise, why do it? So, overall, yes, it was strict. there was some fear for deviating from what was taught to us,
For
um,
sure.
and to this day that has not changed much. But I do what I believe and understand, to be
So
true to the
did you ever
Bible.
have a point? Did you ever have a point like you like, yo, this is not for me. I'm done. They too is weird. Or did you ever get to that point, or how did that?
Got to that point of like, this is too much, because it was more like, is this right? I was always asking, is this correct? I was like, and the emphasis over the years from the right people was like, hey, what is your relationship with God like? Are you reading? Are you praying? And what are you discovering as you're doing all these things? Do the principles we teach you hold up in the Bible? And so I think there's temptation. I don't think, as much. It's not what I want to do. I'm not rebellious. That what I think is right. I'm trying to actually have a relationship.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
So,
No,
keep
it
it.
makes total sense. I want to share with you all. Like I said, I wanted to share a few statuses, and I think Cara has joined us. So give me a moment. I'll get Cara on. But before I do that, I want to share a status that I saw that it kind of got me in the mindset, the discussion, honestly. So it was a status I saw, and I'm gonna let you all. Hopefully, they don't mind me sharing their status. But hold on for a second.
It's public, so like I
Yeah.
don't know why that would be an issue.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Well, it's public for me, at least. Let me share. Hold on. All right. I don't know if y'all can see this. Just give me a thumbs up if you can read it. I'll read it to you though. But I saw a status. It was by one of my friends. I went to college with, Ashanti. But she was like, there's one thing I've learned over the past several years. It's this. It's not my job to defend Adventism. It is my job to allow people to express their opinions, experiences without condemnation. Be kind, y'all. Y'all out here giving God a bad name. That's what I heard. That's what I saw. I was like, oh, okay. Pretty interesting. And so there was a few things I thought about that. One was like, it would be amazing if I could get this same type of energy for people that show love for the Adventist church. It's like, I feel like, and this is where I really want to dig in on this. Like, my biggest problem I have with a lot of these conversations is that, one, people are like, if you say something positive, it's like you're crazy or you're not recognizing everybody's hurt or pain. But if you go on, but many people I've watched over the years go in and in on the church, I'm like, dang, that's crazy. And of course, I don't have that same experience. And I'm going to talk about my experience a little later. I don't have that same experience with the church. Now, granted, I did not have the same upbringing as everybody else. I really didn't go up in the church like that. I was off and on. My mom was not Adventist. I mean, she was Adventist, but in name, but she was definitely not a practicing Adventist. We was eating pork and everything. Praise, have mercy. No, I was about to say praise the Lord. You ain't never had no pork chop. I mean, you don't know what you're missing. But I'm telling you right now, that pork is serious. But thank God I was set free from that pork, because in that pepperoni on pizza, oh my goodness, it's just crazy. But anyways, so I didn't have the same upbringing. So of course, I feel like I didn't grow up how people did. And so I don't have, that same thought process. And it's been very disturbing to me just to watch people like take down the church or try to take down the church. God's church can always stand, but to see people try to take down, it was kind of like crazy.
Evan,
Evan
Evan.
says, catfish will change your life. Have mercy. So, anyways, we got Cara here. Cara, I'm gonna bring her on actually before I start talking about her. But Cara, how you doing, Cara? Look like you already set up for the podcast. Thank you. I know me and Cara do not see eye to eye on a lot of issues, but I appreciate you joining the podcast today. I think like out of all the people who talk about the Adventist church and who have like extensive experience on it, is definitely Cara, somebody I went to school with. Somebody that I went to school. Sandra, we asked people who wanted to be with the church, who wanted to come on, could come on, Sandra. So I'll try to send you the link real quick. I'll try to send you the link. See, this is why this was another thing I was going to tell you. I need somebody to help me with this podcast because I'm all over the place and I don't have a lot of time. But I like to talk, so it's pretty cool. Cara, thank you again for joining us. There has been a lot of discussion on social media as it relates to the Adventist church. And you are here with us. And I know, and I appreciate you joining us because I know we do not see eye to eye on this situation. And I know how I can be on Facebook. So I appreciate you definitely joining us. My question for you, though, Cara, I was definitely looking at one of your comments that you made as it relates to the Adventist church. And one of the things that you said on your status was that the Adventist church, Jamar, you such a clown. I just want to let you know that he was supposed to join us. He's such a clown. But you should be a part of our clown segment, bro. But anyways, Cara, one of the things that you said on your status was that the Adventist church was a cult. And I was like, where did you tell me more about that type of thought process? Like, why do you think that the church is a cult?
I would need to pull up a definition of, actually, I'll do that now. Okay. It says, so the definition that I use when I use the word cult, a misplaced or excessive admiration for a particular person or thing. And it's a group of people who have this misplaced, and I did a sermon about this when I was still Adventist, actually, where I called Adventism a cult. So I thought Adventism was a cult as I was actively an Adventist. So this didn't happen after, it happened during. But I was reading a book about religious fascism, and there was a list of characteristics about what constituted a cult. And I don't think Adventism checks all the boxes, but traditionally, if a group of people say we have the truth and rejection of our ideology is not just a rejection of the ideology itself, but a rejection of God ordained truth. And the culture of this community is rooted in, frankly, in arrogance, and this, I think, delusional spiritual certainty that's not real. And people are not allowed to ask questions. They're not allowed to. And let me say this before. So I didn't want to do this. I know how Adventists feel about this conversation. I know how a lot of people feel about me. I didn't want to do this because at this point I'm happy. I have a church home that I feel great about. I'm in a good place. I have nothing to prove. I don't really care to be going back and forth and arguing with people about their beliefs. And so if you want to know the definition or the dictionary, whatever definition, Evan, Google is right there. Please go check it out for yourself. If you want to check out the characteristics of a cult, Google it, and then you can make your own determination. For me, myself, that's what I've determined. A lot of other people feel the same way. And I posted a status yesterday that kind of explained my experience, not just within Adventism, because I spoke about a lot of the good things that I experienced growing up in Adventism. But then I also explained some of the things that I don't appreciate, that a lot of people, I think, don't appreciate, both in terms of still being a part of the community, but not feeling aligned with the culture. and for those who have left or walked away from the denomination. And someone who's not Adventist, who I don't even think is Christian, just commented and said, "That's weird. Sounds like a cult to me." And I said, "Well, it's funny that you drew that conclusion just from this little tidbit that I said, because that's how I feel about it." And several people liked the comment. And so if you don't agree, that's fine. I don't think you would agree, as you're an Adventist pastor. And so that's cool too. I think, yeah, I just literally just Googled it and looked it up. I Googled it and looked it up. But that's
let me say this. So yeah, I think that you did take a very vague, I don't know where Remy went. Bless his heart. I think you did take a very vague.
That's for the sake of time. That's for the sake of time.
No.
But
like, so my point is though, I think when people hear cult, they hear like Satan. Oh, we got Remy back. Sorry. They hear like Satan worship. They hear like when I'm looking at right here, it says a large group of people, a larger.
Thank you, Amanda.
A small religious group that is not a part of a larger and more accepted religion, and that has beliefs regarded by many people as extreme or dangerous. Now, I do want to know, what is the extreme or dangerous part? Because I think that's like, I don't see anything in Adventist church that is extreme or dangerous. And I see Amanda says it meets the criteria based on the BITE model definition of a cult. Experiences vary by region, and some people's experiences were not as extreme, but my experience was cultish. Her experience was cultish, she says. And so, like, my thing is like, so, and this is, I guess, my biggest thing with this. How do we separate? Because this is what I think people are doing. And I told them, I tell people this all the time. How do we separate the Adventist church and their beliefs? Because they have several beliefs, and if you go to their page, none of that is cultish. They have like 15 scriptures.
That's an opinion.
I'm saying, well, please go there and show me the cultish part so we can discuss that. But I'm saying, come on. Most of it has been accepted by majority of the people, like even in the Christian faith. So my question is, my question, what I'm asking people is that how do we, and this is something James Kelly said the other day, how do we separate the idea of the Adventist church from the people? Because it seems like you all were around a lot of weird people that has made y'all experience crazy. I've never felt the church as a cult. I've never felt the church was pressuring me to do anything, or so that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what type of people let me go back. What is there a difference between the church and its beliefs and the people that put it out there?
Well, I mean, I think that varies. So, for example, the Mormon church, right? Like, not everyone is, I don't remember the guy's name, but if you've seen Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey or something, like, it's a Netflix documentary. And so that's the FLDS, Fundamentalist Latter-day Saints. And they're, he's having sex with kids, that whole thing. That's not the entire Mormon church, right? Like, there's plenty of people who are Mormon and just normal, everyday, decent people. But that doesn't negate the fact that, one, this group of people spawned from core Mormon beliefs. They're not entirely a reflection of Mormonism, but it comes from that same root. And they caused harm. And what did the Mormon church do when this harm was caused? Are they saying, oh, this is fine? This is, we still have the truth and, whatever. No, they condemned them as an offshoot. This is not what we believe. This is not what we are about. This stuff is not okay. And the problem I have with Adventists is, instead of just being accountable and saying, hey, and I saw, and to be fair, I posted a status yesterday, and there were some people from the Detroit area where I grew up, people who I believe I still have a good relationship with, like Debbie Rapp, Leah Chapman. They reached out and said, hey, like, this stuff happened and it's not okay. It's not okay. And as a collective,
so what stuff are we talking about? Because, like I said, are we?
No, hold on.
But it was in the status.
Hold on.
Go ahead, Remy.
Hold on. Let me go ahead and. I heard your definition of a cult. not one to compare any occults based off.
Well,
of
but
what
Amanda
see
used
in
the
news.
BITE model. So then go look up the BITE model. Use that.
I'm not familiar with that. That's why
definition.
I can't go with it.
So yeah, and so
I'm
and,
going
and,
no.
and
Hold on. Let
but
him
no,
finish.
no, but
Let him finish this point. Hold on 1 second. Go ahead, Remy.
I mean, ultimately, I'm just trying to get at a group of people that are not occults. There is going to dreams, like who are going to believe widely different than. So it's like how much beliefs Adventist is that you're referring to, because I'm not sure.
And you're saying that based on what?
Specified.
You're saying that based
extreme.
on, but you're saying that based on what? It's not commonplace based on what? How do you know?
I'm trying to figure out what is extreme. What is extreme? That's
yeah. Tell me, give us 2 examples
stemming from extreme.
Okay.
Yeah, give us 2 examples of the extreme. And then many people have been commenting saying they have had extreme experiences. And again, like I said, but I want you to give us 2 examples of what the Adventist church believe that we found written that is extreme. And then for the comments, and I don't know how to scroll back down on the comments. I'm sorry, because I saw a few comments but I didn't want to interrupt cars. I didn't know how to highlight them. But there was a few comments people made like, oh, it has very cultural behavior. I saw Jason Bolger. I think he's a pastor in the Adventist church, and he said it has cultural behavior. And I'm trying to figure out, I don't understand how that works. You're a pastor and you were part of a cult. Help me break that down for me too, Jason, in the comments. If you want to join, feel free. I'll send you the link as well. But tell me 2 things that you say that's so extreme that makes Adventist a cult.
So let me first figure out what exactly you're asking, because you asked 2 different questions. First, you said, give me 2 things that are extreme that mean Adventism is a cult. But then you also said, give me 2 things that are extremes about the beliefs itself. And so those are 2 different things. There's the ideology, the theology, which is one thing. And then there's the culture within the church, which is something that's separate. Just because even if we were to say that the beliefs themselves don't lend themselves to cult-like behavior, whatever, there's still the culture of the church that people could say, I've experienced cult-like behavior with. And to be fair, I don't think that this is unique to Adventism. I think most people who are super inundated in any kind of fundamentalist Christian denomination would say that they've had similar experiences. And so which are you asking? Are you asking about issues with the theology itself? Or are you asking about issues within the culture that
say whatever you comes to mind? Like if you want to take it, you broke the question down more than I probably would have broke it down. But I'm glad you got it like that. But tell me what is cultish about the Adventist church.
Okay, so beliefs aside, because let me preface this by saying I have my opinions about the theology, the origins of the theology. The only thing that's unique about the SDA church is the investigative judgment and the prophetic interpretations and stuff that stem from it. That to me is insanity to believe in. Some random guy almost 200 years ago allegedly has a vision in a field and says, oh, we're embarrassed. We said Jesus was coming back yesterday. He didn't come back, but an angel magically appears and tells me we didn't get the significance of the date wrong. We got the event wrong. It wasn't that Jesus was supposed to come back yesterday. It's that Jesus moved from the holy place to the most holy place of the heavenly sanctuary. And that's what happened. And even though no one anywhere ever has gleaned that understanding or that interpretation from a pure reading of scripture, even though it's impossible to come to that conclusion without Hiram Edson's vision, people still believe it. That's a choice. Personally, I would not take his word for it, but to each their own, right?
And personally, let me say this. I've never heard that preached. I've heard it when I first started. Hold on. I heard it when I first started, but I don't hear, that's not something I hear on a consistent basis from the Adventist church. That is something like, I honestly believe a lot of things as people grow and learn, people step away from certain stuff. I don't even really hear that a lot. But let me go to, because you gave us that example, but
I'm saying that's the theology. I'm just talking about the theology.
Let me
talking about the culture.
Amanda said something. I want to read what Amanda said. Amanda says, and I don't know, let me know if you agree with this, Carver. She says, Sunday laws running to the hills, conspiracy theories about the Catholic Church, idolizing Ellen White, controlling people's appearances, etc., makes it a cult. Do you agree with that, Cara?
To some extent, yes. I
So,
think there is extremism around a lot of those beliefs. Yes, but I think in general,
Okay.
what I would say, and this is what I said yesterday. Do you want me to finish answering the question?
well,
Or no?
Remy internet is off, Cara. You got to forgive him. He don't even know. Go ahead, Remy. Go ahead.
So she could finish.
Okay. Go ahead.
I said yesterday, Adventism works for who it works for, and that's fine. If your life would be in SHIT show without it, without the structure and support it's provided you, I'm so glad you found some stability. Again, not the problem. The problem is telling people that there's only one right way to live or think or be, and then bullying, shaming, and ostracizing the people who don't fit. The problem is creating.
Before you
Let me
finish that,
finish.
Cara, before you finish that, I think that because I thought that was very important. I read that part because your statuses be long, so I have to break it down. My question is,
Can I finish the statement though?
are
Because
you
you
gonna finish
asked for
the whole
examples.
status? You gonna finish
No, just
go
the
ahead,
part
go ahead.
that
Okay, I'm sorry.
talks about
We'll
the part
start
that
over
talks about the
because I interrupted
extremism.
you.
So it
Go
said
ahead.
the problem is telling people that there's only one right way to live or think or be, and then bullying, shaming, and ostracizing the people who don't fit. The problem is creating environments that make it impossible for some people to stay, as you tell them that removing themselves from the environment is the equivalent of rejecting God-ordained truth. The problem is gatekeeping God behind doctrine, dogma, and a community of believers who holistically struggle with facilitating real spiritual growth and transformation. Some of y'all are so locked in that you can't see that you either are objectively awful people or you support, defend, enable objectively awful people. And that's all being done in God's name.
So, and I'm glad you brought that up. I really need to pull it up because you said a mouthful in that situation. One is that you see, and that's my thing that this is something. And Mr. Adams, I didn't mean to cut her off. I was trying. I didn't know if she was going to read that whole status, and that would have been.
I didn't read the whole thing, so please don't say that.
I know, no, I didn't know. I didn't say you did. Bless your heart. But so what I was saying was, this is what I don't understand about people that put, and this is what I started off with. People always say that Adventist. I've never seen somebody get dogged out for leaving the Adventist church. This is what I've seen. This is what I've seen. What I've seen is that this is what I've seen. I've seen that people talk positively about the Adventist church and they get ostracized, or the people that say they have left the Adventist church, they're on every status, they're on every comment, telling people if anything comes up about Adventism, they're on every status commenting about why they left the church. And why
it's giving all lives matter.
And that what I feel, I didn't hear your comment.
It's giving all lives matter.
Oh, well, I don't know about your all lives matter thing, but what I'm saying is that why do people go around that say they have left the church? Many people I say, "Oh, I'm not Adventist no more," which to me it's like, cool. I'll never go to somebody and say, "Oh, you're not an Adventist. You're weird. You're terrible. You need to join back the Adventist church." I mean, I can really care less. The part that bothers me the most, I'll be honest with you, is that people will try to basically take everybody with them. It's like, hey, I'm not Adventist, and basically you shouldn't be either. That place was a cult. That place did us wrong. And for the most part, what I have noticed is that, and I know, Cara, you're very smart. So thinking you probably may have left, and I don't know the exact reasons why you left, but it seems like more on the theology realm. Most people left because of the church because of people, because of the encounters with people. And that's what they show when they put those statuses up or when they comment. They've left because of people. My thing is, why should they be able to drag everybody else down because they left the church? Okay, you left. We're not saying, I'll never see somebody, I wish you could show me a comment where somebody said, "Oh, you're terrible, you left." I mean, people get up and they make their comments. I'm like, okay, it is what it is. Why are we getting Tom says he disagreed with that statement. Okay, Tom, well, tell us why you disagree with it, brother. But What's the issue with that, Carl? Why are people going around doing that?
Why do Black people still talk about racism? We have the right to vote. We have civil rights, right? Segregation has ended.
True.
Integration has happened. Why do we still talk about racism?
I mean, I don't get into the. I'm trying. We talking about the Adventist church. I don't know about
no,
racism.
No, because this is this delves into privilege, right? When you are not the minority who is being ostracized, when you are not the minority who's being marginalized, then of course you're going to be offended when those people have something to say about you. Of course you're going to be defensive. What did they say? What's the phrase? When you have privilege, equality feels like oppression. When people who have been ostracized by the church are now returning the same energy that they received from the church, of course that's going to feel like they're being unfair. But that's true, generally speaking, in every situation where people who are not the ones who are being picked on, are not the ones who are being marginalized, are now being treated the way that the people who have been marginalized are being treated. At the very, and saying all that to say, at the very least, the people who have left or have been marginalized, whatever, they're just returning the same energy. Like you got somebody. Okay, go ahead, Remy.
Let me interrupt real quick. So you're saying that you feel personally, maybe you don't, maybe you're speaking for other people when you say that they feel marginalized. Can you maybe break that down, how the church is currently doing that? Are you saying that this is something you still experience? Is this what
Can
other
women
people
be
are experiencing right
pastors?
now?
Can women be pastors?
Yes, they can.
The world church allows women to be pastors.
The world church does not let them to be ordained.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Does the world church allow women to be? No. Does the world church
does not allow it?
Women
Your first
to
question
be ordained?
was, can
does the world church
be pastors?
No. Okay. So does the world church allow women to be ordained as pastors? And the answer is no. Correct.
Okay. For now, we still working on that.
Well, it's 2023, and Adventism has existed for almost 200 years.
Because I see a lot of people have been like, "Oh yeah, that was a great."
That's a little bit.
Let me, Remy. You got your internet has got to catch up, brother. Lord have mercy. But go ahead, Remy. I want to address her original question because a lot of people jumped on that, like, "Oh,
I mean, that's not what I was asking. I was talking about.
Go ahead.
You said who's been marginalized, right?
No, I'm saying people who have left the church, not people who are in the church.
Yeah, I know a very prominent. I'm not going to say her name, but there's a woman who is very prominent on social media who was once Seventh-day Adventist, and she was a Seventh-day Adventist. At least I don't know if she was a pastor, but she was in leadership within Adventism, and she tried to change things from the inside. And was very vocal about trying to change things from the inside and ended up hitting a brick wall. And so she walked away. And I think that there's plenty of people who have had not necessarily her exact situation, but plenty of people who don't fit the paradigm of what a good or fit the standard of what a good Adventist is supposed to be, and who have experienced some level of mistreatment, bullying, shaming, what have you, for not fitting.
But I'm trying to get at, like, these are people who have decided to leave because they didn't fit, they didn't agree. They've left and they're normalized. The church doesn't go after people like maybe the Mormon church does. They don't do that. So I'm trying to wrap my head around it, and this goes back to the.
You're trying to wrap your head around why they're still talking about it.
No, not why they're still talking about it. They certainly can. It's their choice, but and I'm not too broken up about it. I think it's people who continually do it, and it's just comes across as complaining with no action. I'm just like, when are we gonna?
Why do you think people? Why
I don't want to get too far. I don't want to get too far from this because, like, you made a statement. A lot of people agree with you in the comments, and I want to address that because I don't think racism has anything to do with what's going on in the church, right?
Of course
now,
of course not.
So what I do believe is that, and my point, which I'm kind of like, I don't understand even the comparison, is that once you leave the church, you've left the church, okay? So once you left the church, you're good. Like, we don't need to have we don't need to have you every time commenting on the church, saying that.
Why does it trigger you?
And let me say this, because I think what you all have done is basically made it seem like that anybody that stayed in the church is basically privileged, which is wild to even make that point. It's basically saying that we don't even have our own, that we don't have our own experiences. Like, yeah,
that's not what privilege means.
Repeat your question.
That's not what privilege means.
Hold on, let me. This is, you basically said that people that remain in the church
please don't put words in my mouth.
I said basically, so that's not saying putting the exact words in your mouth. I'm saying basically. So
that's not what I said though.
Let me finish this point though. This is what I took from what you said.
Okay.
That people that is in the church now is almost in a privileged mindset, or have a privilege, and they don't see what everybody else sees, and that's why
I didn't say that about everybody in the church.
Okay, well, maybe I'm gonna have you clarify in a moment, but let me just say this before I lose my point, because I got ADHD and I will lose my point real quick. My biggest thing, what I'm trying to make clear, is that people that have left the church, we're not bothering them. We're not coming up to them saying, why did you leave the church? They come and really try to make everybody else feel like, hey, you should leave. And nobody in the Adventist church have had a perfect situation. We've had our own issues. There's been many issues as relates to the Adventist church. When I went to Peterson, and that's a school that I really credit with changing a lot of how my thought process. But when I was there, I felt like the people there were so unfair to the individuals that had been there for all their life. I didn't say, let me get out of Peterson, let me stop going because this is crazy, this is not the devil. No, I kept going through it and made my way and took the good and pushed aside the bad. But I didn't go around and telling everybody, oh, this is the worst, I have to leave, I have to do this. And that's what's happening. People are trying to basically peer pressure others outside the church because their thinking has changed. It's not that we feel privileged. If you mention everybody that, when I make that status, literally 90% of the people was like, the church is not perfect. I've had my issues, but it's basically changed my life.
And I agree with that, because I'm like, people they reserve the right to complain. They truly do. But again, it's like, you can come out and say it honestly as much as you want, but at some point the question is like, when is enough enough? I feel like we hear this all the time from the same number of people about a lot of different things.
Yeah, got it.
Go ahead, Carver.
Two things. But I've heard you all out and I get it. Heard the same thing for a long time. So, one, if a woman is in a domestic violence situation, her husband has been abusive to her, and it's just her in that relationship, right? She married him, she was with him, but her husband was abusive to her, and she manages to get out. And so she writes books, blog posts, articles about her experience, about getting out. Why does she do that? Why do victims ever share their story?
For change? Awareness?
Are you saying that the people that lead the Adventist church are victims, like in
some of them are
situation?
Some of them are
victims of what? Of people saying.
So there was a guy, Pastor, what's his face, that just died not too long ago. Oakwood didn't let him have his funeral at Oakwood Church because he had sexually abused and taken advantage of a number of Adventist women over a course of years. And so, and let me just say this, you all are men, right? And so sure, right? Like, it's absurd to you that all these people are victims who have had these terrible experiences, whatever, fine. But there have been plenty of people. I transitioned out of Adventist, or started transitioning out in 2015. So that was like 8 years ago. I've heard countless stories from countless people, not just on public platforms, but people who have reached out to me directly, privately, to express their pain and frustration and their grief. And so at the very least, right? At the very, very least, because there are people who are victims, but then there are people who are just hurt, right? Like some people are victims, they've actually been abused or taken advantage of in some way, but some people
Exactly.
are just hurt, right?
Yeah.
If someone,
But
if
and I
Adventist,
think
but
what
let me
you're
finish.
saying
No,
is,
no, no.
though,
I let you talk.
but
Let me
hold
finish.
on. But
No, let
you
me
made a
finish.
point. Okay, I'm gonna let you finish, but let me say this because I don't want to. Because you say a lot when you say, so I have to take it in strides, or I'll forget what you said. I have to take notes. My point is that what you're saying is that how, and this is exactly Evan should be on this because he's actually saying exactly what I was gonna say. How, my question is, how do we distinguish between individual actors and the institution? Because I
Right.
do agree that, and listen, everybody keeps saying let her finish. This is a podcast. We got to get to other questions. We got to break it down.
No, but you're asking questions and not
Everybody can't finish.
letting me give you the answer.
Cara is gonna give us a dissertation. We got to be able to break that dissertation down.
You asked me to come on here and you
And I
asked me a
appreciate you.
question, and
And I
then you're
appreciate you coming.
saying,
I'm just saying we have to be able to get
but this
to
is what I'm
different
talking about when
points.
you don't
Go ahead.
listen. You don't
I'm
listen.
listening.
You don't
Go ahead.
listen. Right? So let's talk about the people who are just hurt, who aren't actively
Okay.
victims, right? There's plenty of people that someone said thousands of people have been hurt by Adventism in one way or another. Because we're talking about, because I'll address the individual piece and the institutional piece. And then I have a question for you at the end of it. So some people are just hurt. And maybe they're hurt because someone was mean to them. Maybe they're hurt because the pastor said something about themselves that, like, they're LGBTQ, and they didn't like what the pastor had to say about homosexuality, whatever the case may be. If you are like me and Adventism is a core part of your community, right? So I went to Adventist schools, Adventist University. Most of my family is Adventist. So Adventism wasn't just my religious beliefs. Adventism was my community.
Amen.
And so now, for whatever reason, be it I'm hurt, the theology, whatever, I'm a victim, whatever the situation is, it's not just walking away from an idea. It's disrupting and destabilizing my social network, my community. It's creating a barrier within my community, between myself and my community, where Adventism was in a lot of ways the underlying thing that's holding all of it together. And so at the very least, whatever the reason is, I don't think it's absurd to be compassionate and empathetic towards people who are grieving the loss of their communities, who are grieving, in some instances, the loss of their faith, and trying to figure out, what does life look like for me post-Adventism? And not just trying to figure that out, but then also sharing their experiences, because there are still people within the community. Like I remember Crystal, I forget her last name, but Crystal, years and years ago, had said that she wasn't Adventist anymore, was questioning Ellen White, and people were on her status. I remember, she can come on here and attest to that. People were on her status going crazy about the things that she was saying. And I remember I spoke to her because at the time I was still SDA. And I was like, well, if nothing else, you could still just call yourself Seventh-day Adventist, because what's the issue with that? Even if you don't believe X, Y, and Z, you could still be a part. And she's like, no, like that's just not aligned with where I am. And it's like, on paper, it's absurd for that to be the reaction, right? Like, she's just saying, I don't agree with the idea anymore. She's not a different person. She hasn't changed. She wasn't being mean or rude or coming at anybody crazy. She literally just expressed, this is a change. And so many people had something to say about it. So many people reached out to her. I reached out to her. And I know a lot of people have experienced the same thing. And so it's just like, there's this pressure to try to conform. There's grief around losing your community. There's insecurity because you don't know, like, if this is all you've known, I have no idea what this is supposed to look like for me in the aftermath. And then for the people who have been actively hurt either by the community or victims, because I could talk about that all day, but for people who have actively been victimized or hurt in ways that the institution could do something about. The institution could address sexual abuse. The institution could, Oakwood. I love Oakwood. I'm Oakwood, bleed blue and gold till I die, whatever. But Oakwood got some shady stuff. There's been some victims at Oakwood.
We don't want to get hold on. We on Adventist. Now we don't want to change. Now that's another topic, Carver.
No.
This is what I was. Go ahead.
Let me finish because
okay.
the question was, how are we separating institution from the individuals? Individuals have been hurt. Individuals have been victimized, and the institution
Agreed.
largely has been silent about it. The
You know,
institution largely no. The institution
no,
largely
I
has not put.
I disagree.
Okay,
First,
well,
I think that, and if you can, I mean, like I said, and what we have to go with, this is what I'm talking about. I knew that this would this is what I'm talking about.
no.
Hold on. I agree with you. There are things that the church can do better. And I will tell you personally, I sit on the executive committee of the conference. So you know the type of stuff that I hear and things that go on there. So I understand that the church is I get the church have problems, the church have issues like any other organization. I was looking at church in the city of Detroit where it was like a bunch of crazy sexual
Let's not do that though.
So, but my point is though, the church have issues just like any other church. But what I find the problem with everything is that it's not the beliefs they have the problem with, it's the people. And as my friend James Kelly said, it's more of these people that had these weird parents and that was showing them something different.
No, but now you're minimizing. Now you're minimizing. But now you're minimizing.
That showed them something different at the crib, and then they showed them something crazy. Showed them something, and at church, they was the head elder, or they was
you're still not listening.
And so my point is,
you're still not listening.
Hold on, I want to finish my point. Because you went on, and I have to break that stuff down because you be going on, and I don't be knowing how to even, because you make good points. I want to let you know that. But my point is, what I'm trying to say is, Cara, is that a lot of people have been bothered as it relates to, and I didn't forget my train of thought. I got ADHD. I can't even bad.
Let's hop back real quick.
Go ahead, Remy. I
made a statement earlier. And I know that's why I'm trying to start this thing right here, where you were saying, you're giving the example with Crystal, and I did want you to clarify, like you said, what she faced, and I'm trying to understand. Are you referencing this because in part it feels like this is what makes up the Seventh-day Adventist Church as a whole, and what helps define it as a cult based off of the definition that you're using? Because I think, again,
I'm not even still talking about it being a cult. Y'all are still stuck on that. I'm not even on that anymore.
Now I want to see everybody.
I'm on that. That's why I'm bringing it up.
Let Cara finish. Hey, I want y'all to see. Let us finish.
We're trying to knock down.
No, but you're mischaracterizing what you keep mischaracterizing what I said. I'm not talking about that in the context of a cult. But go ahead. Go ahead. Exactly. How we get to cult again? Because I wasn't even talking about that. But go ahead.
Yeah, I clearly brought it up, so we are talking about it again. Thank you. So you had made that assertion, and I'm here to tell you and ask you about how could you define it as such? It doesn't make sense. So you brought up Crystal, and I was like, is that how you?
I didn't bring up Crystal to talk about the cult. I did not bring up Crystal in the context of the cult thing. So why are you? I didn't say that had anything to do with it. So why are you drawing a correlation between the two? Because those were two different parts of the conversation. One does not have anything to do with the other.
I'm using that example about how people behave.
That's not an example of it being a cult. That's not an example.
Thank you. That's all you had to say. But here you go, blowing your head off. I need you to relax, please. Let's continue.
So what I would say, Cara, is let's y'all funny. First off, Jamar is a clown. I just want to let you know that, Jamar. You're supposed to join the conversation. You didn't even join. You're a clown. And I think as we wrap up, because I think we like I agree with you.
But I want to just let me just say
we're not done. We're not done. I'm just saying, as we wrap up, I was thinking I'm not done. I do want you to say your points. I'm just thinking about, we're about to start getting to the end of it. I think you did make a point. Like, a lot of people are kind of dug in where they are, and I totally agree with that, because I'm definitely dug in, and I know Remy's dug in, and you're definitely dug in, and so I do agree. I still think it's a good conversation to have, because a lot of people, is definitely they feel passionate about this situation, and so if it's not, I get it, and I don't want nobody to think that sometimes I come off as like, on Facebook, like y'all people are interesting. But this is my biggest point. If you left the church, I'm okay that you have left the church. Of course, I would love for anybody to come back to the church, a place that changed my life. But if you left the church and then every chance you get, it's like, oh, when I made a positive status about the Adventist church, somebody commented and said, this is toxic positivity. And I'm like, that's crazy because I don't get that same thing. Of course, if somebody is attacking your very beliefs, people have been going through stuff in the Adventist church for decades. I can tell you over and over, there's been things that I have done, there's issues. But the biggest thing is, hey, this guy's a clown. EJ, y'all be throwing me off, man. I gotta cut these comments off. But my point is that overall, the church is a place that has changed many people's lives. It has understandably upset a lot of people as well, Carl, which I agree. But my biggest point is, why can't we go to our corner, the people that left go to their corner, and why can't we all go down the street? Why does the church have to be taken down by people who have left the church? That's my point. Like,
quickly, the harm is still being caused. There are still people who are actively being harmed, actively, still feeling this way. And so the purpose of sharing stories is not just for the catharsis of the person who's experienced it, but also to let people know who are still within it, who may not be okay with it, that it's okay to leave. So that's one. Two, here's what toxic positivity is. There's a difference between I love my faith, right? Because I talk about my new church all the time. I love my church. It's amazing. It's wonderful. I'm there every week. I'll be there twice this upcoming Sunday. Love it. Love to be there. And I'll be there on Friday night. I go to church all the time because I love it. The people are amazing. Everything's amazing.
Is that in Cali?
Yes. In the Valley. Church of the Valley. Yes. So if someone was writing a Facebook, there's a difference between organically just big upping my church because I love it, which is a thing that I do, and responding to someone saying, I had a really bad experience at the Church of the Valley with, people are so negative about Church of the Valley. I love it. It's amazing. It's wonderful. It's been such a healing experience for me. Sure, because do you understand the difference? Because it's one thing to just organically love Adventism and talk about it. But when you talk about Adventism in a positive light as a way to minimize, because that's what it sounds like, even if that's not your intent, it sounds like, these people over here are complaining about Adventism. All I hear is negative things. Here's my positive experience. It's not already well known that people have positive experiences within Adventism. People would no longer be Adventists. If you didn't have a positive experience, if you didn't believe it, if it wasn't working for you, you wouldn't be SDA anymore either. And so it goes without saying that they're
that contradicts.
Let me finish. No, it doesn't.
Said in your status. Yes, it did. Because you said that the church, and I cannot I don't want to quote you word for word because I know you don't like me quoting you word for word because I always get you wrong. But you said in your stats, we need to wake up. The church is losing people. All the young people are leaving. Can't you? You said something.
Yeah, no. But I'm talking about the people who are still in it. Not the people who are leaving.
You made it seem like it's basically that your church was bleeding people and that we should wake up and see something is wrong.
Right. No. So what I'm saying is, yes, that's true. It's also true that there are plenty of people, young people like yourself, or I don't know if we can still qualify as young people, right? But there are people like yourself and Remy, plenty of people who are still SDA, love Adventism, they're there. That goes without saying. The church would be dead. There would be no one in Adventism if no one enjoyed it. Obviously, it's working for some people. And if you just want to talk about that organically, please do. I don't think there's anything wrong with someone saying we had a high day. A high day in praise on Saturday, and the pastor said this and the pastor said that. There's been times when people have shared snippets of a sermon or something like that, and I'm yeah, that's a gem. Thank you for sharing. Or they've shared a thought, something about their spirituality. Nothing wrong with that. The issue I think that people were trying to point out to you about your status is that yours was not inorganic. I really love Adventism. It's been so beneficial for me. I'm so grateful for what it's done for other people. It was directly in response to what you said is negativity from people who have left. Mm-hmm. And so that's the issue. And I just want you to understand that that's the issue. Not that you're being positive about Adventism, but that you're being positive about Adventism in a way that minimizes the negative experiences of other people. And that's not, it wasn't, I'm not saying it was intentional, but that's what happened.
Yeah, no. It was intentional. I'll tell you that.
Well then
it was. Let me, because this is what I see. if like, for example, I forgot what I was doing where this situation came up, but I can't give you the example. When it comes to me, I will. But my point is that if everybody is talking about the negativity, like at some point, it's like, at some point, I'm like, dang, like, did anybody have a positive experience? Because if everybody been hurt, if we allow the social media, and social media is very good with that, because it had me thinking, like, if you went to social media on certain things, like I remember I was on TikTok, they had me thinking this guy in Chicago who was a clear case clown was about to win the Chicago's mayor race. I was looking at him, everybody was like, oh, he's great. Oh, he's the best person for it. And every time I seen it, it was like thousands of people liking it. I'm like, dang, that's crazy. So my point was in making that in that status is like, yo, there's still people out here that still love the church. Still, the church has changed them. And I would say this, for people like, I'm not trying to minimize your experience. I'm not trying to minimize your hurt. And I definitely do not compare this as the same as racism, as the same as us being privileged. What I'm saying is that my changed my life. If it hasn't changed yours, I apologize. If it ruined yours, oh my God. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
It said
Yeah, you're good.
Oh, yeah, it said lost connection. Mercy. Look at that devil trying to stop giving my speech. But my point is, though, I'm not against people that are against the church. I'm not. I promise you I'm not. But I'm not going to allow people to go
Then
out.
why does them sharing your stories, why is it so triggering? Why does people sharing their pain and their grief, why is it so triggering for you? Why do you get so defensive?
No,
Why do
it's
so
not.
many
I don't
Adventists
think
get
it's
so defensive?
well. When I say it's trigger is
Yeah, you're triggered. Defensiveness means you're triggered.
no, trigger
Defensiveness
is a
means you're triggered.
strong word. I wouldn't say
No, it's
trigger.
not.
I think
Let's be honest. Let's be
Wait,
I
honest.
can be
Defensiveness
honest.
means you're
I can be
triggered.
honest.
Because
I think
Remy,
like
your internet jumped over to my internet, Remy. Now my internet is going in and out.
Great joke.
You know what?
Excellent. I'm glad you got that out.
I'm about to pause my kids' Wi-Fi.
Antoine.
Go ahead.
Antoine. Let me say what I'm saying. All right, bet. So so yeah, I was gonna say honestly, I think sometimes some of those statuses do trigger me because I'm like, it comes across as all negativity. I'm just like, man, is there not at some point some way of saying like, we can change this or that? We can try to rally together for some things, for some sort of improvement, some honest, good faith discussion. Again, people reserve the right to post whatever they wish. But I think at the end of the day, it makes sense for Antoine and other people to make posts about the positivity of the church while not trying to put down what anyone else has said. I don't think we should be doing that. But I do think it is good to highlight these things. And I feel like also a lot of these comments and posts that people post about the church that are negative, but they may be honest, I think that some of them are mischaracterization and they can be anecdotal based on person to person and not representative as the institution.
Don't you think that's a convenient position to take though? Because like, of course you would think that.
I mean, I honestly, the reason I take it that way is because it's my experience. Like, I think that people do experience
right.
what
That's
they
anecdotal.
Experience.
Your experience is anecdotal.
Absolutely, I do.
Right.
But I don't. So I'm trying to get at ultimately that I think it is a mischaracterization because the vast majority of people who have positive things to say who are still in the church. So I guess that's my opinion.
Yeah,
and so I think,
I agree.
and I appreciate that. I appreciate your honesty for acknowledging that you've been triggered, and I think that's valid. And I think part of I think coming together is one, being able to be honest with each other. If it makes you upset, like, let's not minimize. Let's just be honest about it. It hurts me to hear negative things said about my denomination, especially because I've had such a good experience. And that's real. That's valid. And I think if we could be honest about that and say, like, it just hurts me to hear it because I love Adventism. I love what it's been for me. And I hate the idea of someone who could find something good in this being deterred because of someone else's experience. Because then I think we can say, well, and I said this yesterday, I don't know other people's feelings. Someone being Adventist to me is fine. I don't agree with the theology, but I think if it's been beneficial for you, awesome, amazing, do what works, because I'm doing what works. And I can't judge someone else for doing what works for them, what draws them closer to God. I think the issue for me is just the unwillingness to be accountable for the times in which people have been hurt. I think if, for example, if someone says, I was injured at your church, like I felt, or I was, my feelings were hurt at your church because people were cliquish. If the people at that church said, hey, you know what? We're so sorry that that was your experience. And please come and like, let's have a dinner or something like that so that we can show you, that we actually do care. And even if you never come back, like just give us the opportunity to love on you a little bit and like show you that we actually do really care about you. And we're so sorry that that was the experience that you walked away with. I think a lot of people would be open to that. I think a lot of people, I think that there's a good amount of people. I think Antoine's right in that there are some people who less have issues with the theology and more have issues with the culture. I think there's a lot of people who grieve the loss of their community and would want to come back if their community was willing to acknowledge, one, that they even had been hurt, and then willing to say like, hey, what can we do to bridge the gap? What can we do to remedy this and make you feel welcome? And if it's not something that can be made to work, then at least you can say, well, the effort was made. They tried. This isn't for me, but I don't have to be bitter about it anymore. I know that I'm loved. I know that I'm cared for, and I can walk away with peace. And I'm not saying that that's feasible in every situation. Of course, there are some people who are disgruntled and it's not valid. Like that happens too. You're just mad for the sake of being mad, and that's whatever.
Carmen.
But there's no effort, in my opinion.
Evan asked, and I don't know why Evan is not on this podcast, but he should have been here. He says, who is qualified to apologize and make things right? And that's what I think like is so important to kind of figure out, like who can make things right for the people. Because I think a lot of times it's like, I might have been personally, I know it was some stuff like even my cousins had told me before, like when I was on church board, some stuff like, and stuff I didn't even realize I had did. I'm like, dang, that's crazy. I didn't even know they had that type of thought process about me. Mm-hmm. But it was like, so I know I can address my issue, but who can apologize and make things right from the church? Now, if our good doctor Ted Wilson got up and said he apologized for all the church hurt that people experienced, is that going to change it?
I think I think that would be a good start, and I think Sandru's right. Anyone in leadership can. It's easy, in my opinion, to say, hey, even if I didn't do it, even if we can't, the people who did it left, if you had a bad experience with someone, you felt like you were not loved, you were not treated, in the spirit of Jesus Christ in our congregation, please know, one, that that's not acceptable. We don't condone that type of behavior. We want people to come and feel loved and welcomed. And so if you experience the opposite of that in our community, please understand, one, that we're sorry that happened to you. Two, that's not okay. And three, if you come back and give us another opportunity, it's something that we care to be really intentional about, rectifying in whatever ways that we can. And if it's somebody who's not, it's like they were making it up, or they were, blowing something out of proportion, whatever else, then at the very least you tried. They weren't serious. They tried to take advantage of it, whatever. And then you go on about your business. But I think the overarching issue is that there's been very little effort. Everyone's like, well, what do you expect us to do? It's individual people. It's not the church, whatever. There's always just a bunch of excuses, rather than, I think, very just like common sense steps that could be taken in these individual congregations, just to let people know we hear you, we see you, we're sorry that that's been your experience, and we care. Like, I feel like you would get so much further with people with, a little bit of honey, showing that you just care, rather than making excuses and getting defensive and gaslighting and minimizing people for sharing their experiences.
No, I'd say for sure that when it comes to people's experiences, the ones that are truly deplorable, for lack of a better word, they should be addressed. They should be shouted out from the mountaintops, because the church, I can agree. I think I saw someone in the comments say, sexual abuse is one of those. I think it was Melissa. She said something about sexual abuse is a major issue in the church. And I always it bothers me that that's even a major issue within our faith. And I can admit that is something that the church has failed to address. The moving around of pastors, I don't agree with. And I can understand any woman or man going out of their way to say, hey, this is what happened to me, on multiple occasions, writing a book and everything. I think it's typically other things.
And I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with people writing books. I think as it relates to sexual abuse stuff, of course, but my thing is, and as I've stated before times having this conversation, that is not an Adventist. That's not an Adventist problem. That is a church problem. That is a school
But
problem.
if you
That is,
say you're the remnant,
I mean,
But that,
you
it's
say
but
you
I
got the
think
going to
truth
be the
and
church.
you're set
Of
apart.
course, the devil is going to attack the remnant, Cara. Come on now.
But
That's how
everybody
the
else is
devil
doing it.
works.
Everybody else did it. Everybody
No,
else
no,
is
no. It's
doing
not about
it.
everybody else doing it. What I'm saying is that people are trying
Isn't
to
an
take.
excuse. If you're supposed to be
People are
special, you're
trying to
supposed to
take.
be the standard bearers, then bear the standard. Bear the
But
standard.
people are trying to take individual people are trying to take individual issues and put it on the church. That's my point. Like these, and I agree. Like
It's
I
not.
guess what people are saying is like maybe the church can address it from a standard. And I think like we have to be very careful because the church has a very extensive legal team, as I found out. They run a lot of stuff. So a lot of stuff the church can't even do. They can't, because of there are people that can take down the church by based off of some of the things they say. So they have to be very careful how they craft things. I've been dealing with a lot of stuff with like employment on the executive committee. It's like certain stuff you can't say, you can't do, you can't mention because the church can get sued. People can bring it down. So I
Well,
think
that's
that a lot of
interesting.
times people have not been in these leadership positions because I agree. Like you will want people to be like, hey, you need to fix this or you need to say this or do that. But if the church does certain things or if they say certain things, it could open them up to more liability.
So what
And
you're
I hate
saying is
to
the church
be that
has no
person.
real means of holding anyone within its community accountable, and so if there is
No, no,
damage
no.
done, the
That's
church
not,
is
no, no, no. We said,
more concerned
you
with
just told
protecting
me
its image
you don't like
than
people
it
putting
is
words in
holding
your
people
mouth,
accountable.
right? No, no, no. I'm saying you because you just put a whole bunch in my mouth. Like, no, that's not what I said. I'm saying that
You said the church
from
can't
sitting
acknowledge
on
things
certain
because if they
from sitting
do,
on certain
they can be
boards,
sued.
from sitting on certain boards, there is certain things that the church cannot do because of the liability aspect of it. That's all I'm saying. Now, however we take it, and that's any church. I said, Evan, I had to catch myself on that too. I already know what you're talking about. Y'all funny. Y'all funny.
Thank you
Over this.
to my big
Listen,
brother.
I think this is a
Headship
great
theology. You should
conversation.
read that comment though. You should read that comment.
What's that?
Headship
comment?
theology allows for sexism. The
He
Bible
says,
conferences of
headship theology
1918 allow for racism. Where did it go?
Don't you hate the way the comments just go away?
It's not simply individuals. The entire 20th century is problematic for the Adventist church. And what you just said is that because of legal liability, there's certain things that the church can't acknowledge and can't take responsibility for, because if they do, then people could sue them. And so, and what I'm saying is what you're basically saying is that there are institutional problems that the church has no real means of holding anyone accountable for, because if they do, then it could open them up to legal liability. People who are actual victims could have recourse within the American justice system against the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And that's a problem. If protecting your image, protecting your institution is more important than actually being of the Spirit of Christ, actually manifesting that for people, being an example and bearing the standard for people, holding people accountable, then like,
Cara, I think that, I mean, it's easy in that standpoint to say, like, that's very easy for you talking about the remnant went corporate. Hey, it's easy for people to be like, oh yeah, and this is what I'm saying, and this is what I talk about. You can determine people who have been in leadership positions on this post because you, first off, those things first have to be validated. Those things first off have to be there's a lot of different things. And I don't even want to get into that because that's a whole nother type of conversation. And I don't want to, I had to meet two people on me like never before. My point is though, the church has to be careful in the way it addresses things because it can it can't open itself up to crazy liability, and then it won't be a church because people sue you and take you down and they won't have no money. So, what I would say is,
money is the most important. Is money the most important thing? Is money more important? No, because but listen. If your message is we have the truth, we are God's church, we are the remnant, and that's supposed to be going out to people, but if money is more important than making sure that the message is not just heard, but received in the spirit within which you're saying it's given. How is that doing? How is that being what the Advent movement was initially designed to be? If money is more important than accountability, if money is more important
I think
than
that you're
acknowledging victims
again.
and making sure that the message, because the
think what
message
you're
is being
doing again
tainted. The
is just
message
like
is
you
being
just said.
tainted. The
You're
message is
doing
being tainted.
exactly what you say you hate. You just took words and put them out there. I didn't say that the church said that money was more important than
No.
accountability.
You said they're going to
I did not
lose
say that.
money.
I didn't say
You said they're
anything
going to
close to
lose
that.
money, and there will be no church if they take ownership, hold themselves
Look at
accountable.
LJ with
It
the
opens
look at
themselves up to liability, and then what? You said
no
they
no
lose money, right?
yeah, I
Right?
think that exactly. And I think you know what? Brandon just made a good point. All churches have that. If allegations happen at Carver's church, they would create a carefully crafted statement as well.
No,
Like,
they wouldn't.
so okay, they wouldn't, Carver.
No, we
They
don't
would
have
come out and
PR.
say,
We don't have PR.
"Oh
We
well."
don't have
Well, I
we don't
mean,
have a
how
legal
big is your
team.
church?
It's not very big, right? It's not
Oh
very
well, I
big.
mean, well then that's the difference though. But they still would have to have
And there's
some
checks
type
and
of message.
there's checks in place for those kinds of things because we made it. And so
So you're saying
we're able to put
that a legal
parameters in
team,
place.
a legal team would be an issue for a church, or not?
No,
an
I'm
issue?
not saying that a legal team would be an issue for a church. I'm saying that we would not, because of the nature of our church, because of the nature of how it's organized, we would not have to, if someone came in and said, "Hey, this person assaulted me," we would be able to be like, "Hey, okay, what's going on?" First of all, if someone sexually assaulted you or something like that, please go file a police report. My dad worked in the court for 30 years. And so please go do that. Let's go do what needs to be done with that. And then if that happened within the context of like the church building or something like that, then that needs to be handled. Because we're smaller, because we don't,
How would you handle it? How would you handle it?
However, we would
How would
handle
your
it.
church handle it?
If I mean, it would depend. If it's a church person, someone who's a part of the church who did this, and it was not within the church, like it's just this person attends the church, but then offsite did something to someone, then they wouldn't be able to be in the church anymore.
And so you don't. I've known several cases where that's happened in the Adventist church.
And there's been several cases where it hasn't happened.
And
it just depends on it just depends on who did it. It just depends on who did it.
I disagree with that. I think that it depends on what is like proven fact and what's not. I think so. I mean, I know several cases. I've read about them. Several cases that people have been like that's happened. Like, and I think we're trying to. We're doing a worldly problem. We're saying a problem that happens all over the country, all over the world, and saying that the Adventist church is not doing it right.
Yes, I would kick abusers out of my church
I think anybody would kick abusers out their church.
But they don't. They don't.
They okay, all right.
They don't.
But okay, I think Jason asked a question, and I would love to hear your answer to this question. Carver, would you ever consider coming back to the church?
No.
Never.
No, I don't agree with Adventist theology personally.
Okay.
I thought that would be the answer. Yeah.
I don't agree with Adventist theology.
All right.
It's not.
Let me say this.
I mean, the community is what it is, but I don't agree with Adventist theology.
I definitely think, like, honestly, on the real talk, I really appreciate you joining the conversation. Carl, we get along well, you know, in these debates, but I appreciate you joining the conversation. Remy, for sure, appreciate you. Remy threw my internet off today, man. Bless his heart.
Welcome. Anytime.
Hey, so Remy gonna be on here a lot more. Carl, you're welcome to join us on different topics because I definitely love your perspective, and our perspectives are always so different. If we agree, it's powerful, but our perspectives are so different, and I definitely appreciate y'all coming on. I want y'all to subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Good Night Show. We will be back with more discussions. I don't know if it's going to be more Adventist discussions. It does seem like it does get a lot of people engaged, but definitely just different discussions about people, the world, and things like that. I wanted to end, though, with just basically like what I tell people all the time. Like, I appreciate what LJ said. When do y'all agree?
It happens rarely.
We do agree on certain occasions. Thank you. And I was just telling somebody, Cara introduced me as when I was running for U.S. president. I don't know if you remember this, but you actually was the one who kicked off the campaign in the gym. Do you remember that?
No.
You introduced me.
But
Yes,
I thought you would be a good
introduced me.
USM president, and you were.
Yeah, I know. But you introduced me. You were the one. I was like, it's not all bad. But what I would say is overall, summarize it. This is what I would say as relates to it. I don't want anybody to think that I'm against people that are not Adventist. I don't want people to think that
You
people
was a
that
good USM president.
hey,
And you know it's true if
I'm
I'm
about
saying
to block.
it.
I'm about to block your comments.
I would
Jason
not give credit where it was not due, believe me. I thought he was a good
Jason said
president.
he ugly though. I think we all can agree with that. Hey, you're all clowns. I'm trying to finish my point, man. I need to stop commenting. My point is though, I appreciate, people that have given us, your different dialogues. I definitely appreciate Cara, Remy coming on and just talking to us about it. And I really pray and hope, for all the people that are legit hurt by the church that that you do find some type of reconciliation. And that while at the same time, I definitely appreciate my experience in the church. It's definitely changed my life. And I love y'all. Appreciate y'all coming on. Join us for the next time. Thanks again. Carl, you want to say any closing words? Remy, you got anything?
Just do what works for you. Love Jesus and do what works for you, and be kind to each other. I think everyone could afford to be more kind to each other.
And I honestly can respect anyone's criticisms. I'm more about action, and I think that's what we can start focusing on now. But yeah, I'm not about shutting anybody up either.
All right. So appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Have a great evening.